Unfortunately, I cannot take on any unpaid work to help you make money at this time. Thanks for thinking of me though. That's what I got for trying to be nice. This happened a few years ago, but I still think about it. Reading this sub and getting my mind blown. Never thought this would happen to me. So I was at a food store. I was in line behind a lady at the counter. She tried to pay but her card got declined. Asked the cashier to try again multiple times but it didn't work, so she said, well, leave the apples then. I had some extra cash that day, so I said to her and the cashier she could leave them and I would pay for her 2 apples and just give them to her. She said, oh thank you. Then she left and went back in the store. Me and the cashier looked at each other like what is happening. Then she returned with lots and lots of more things that she wanted me to pay for. No, just the apples. I can't afford this, I told her. Then she started screaming about how selfish I was and how I was going to hell. Then she left the store without anything cause she was so mad. So much for trying to be nice. I missed my return train. Refund my entire trip. I work at the reservation desk customer service in an amusement park, so I'm used to deal with all kinds of choosing beggars. But this one really got everyone in the office enraged. This summer, a Monday morning, the phone rang. My colleague picked up the phone with the usual X-Park. I'm X. How can I help you? My desk is right in front of hers, so I could see the smile on her face slowly disappear. Here is what happened. The lady on the phone had booked 2 tickets for our park, which costs in total €50 for 2 adults. $59. She had come the previous Saturday and had enjoyed her visit. However, when she and her guest decided to leave the park, they realized they had missed the last train to their return destination. So the lady had to call a cab, and told us she had to pay €100, $118, to go back home. She was furious, and asked us to refund her tickets and her cab ride. Of course, my colleague told her it was impossible. She had already visited the park, validated the tickets, and spent the day there. We are a small amusement center and due to the current pandemic restrictions we can only welcome 1,000 visitors a day. But still, it is in no case our responsibility to make sure our guests don't miss their bus train. We don't have any shuttle from the train station to the park as it is a 3 minutes walk from there. So after politely explaining why we would not refund her tickets, the lady was still going on and on about being refunded, at least for her cab expenses. It was ridiculous. And after 15 minutes on the phone, my colleague finally hung up. She was exhausted, and the lady had insulted her with every word in the dictionary. She took a long break outside before she could calm down and take other calls. The next day, the lady called again. This time, it was a student doing part-time job in our center that replied. The lady was of course awful to her, and the poor girl was distraught and on the verge of tears. This awoke my mama bear instinct and I told our student to give me the phone. I politely told the lady off because it was none of our problem. I had all the difficulties in the world to stay polite, but kill them with kindness as they say. Then I offered hot chocolate to my poor student who was doing a very nice job, but had the misfortune to fall on the worst customer ever encountered in our center. 2-3 days later, our boss gets an email from the Office of Consumer Protection. The lady had called them and said we were disrespectful, called her a liar, and laughed at her face. Our customer services were terrible and it was the worst she had even been treated in her entire life. My colleague and myself were disgusted. My colleague had been nothing but apologetic and polite to that lady who was just screaming at her for 15 minutes. Same thing with my student, and myself. Our boss was scared of the repercussions, and sent an email to the lady. He offered her a free entry for the inconvenience plus free meal at the park, even though we had done nothing wrong. Later that day, the lady replied to the email, unhappy again. She said she would not use only one free entry. I have 3 children and my husband, so we need at least 5 tickets plus 5 meals. and the guarantee we will be able to come and go back home after the visit. This time, my boss was enraged. He told her to take the free entry or take nothing, and he didn't care what the impact will be. He enclosed the Office of Customer Protection to the email, as well as corporate. We heard nothing more of it for a while, and our boss told us to blacklist her phone number and email address. Sometimes after, the boss told us corporate had just let him know the lady had been permanently banned from the park. She had been very rude to them as well. She menaced them to call her lawyer and so on. This whole thing was just totally ridiculous. The nerve of some people. Why don't I get a discount? Story time. So, I was dealing with the last customer of the night. She was one of those people who stay until after the store closes, and she brings up a bottle of cheap perfume, probably like $8.99 or something, and tells me it's on clearance for $6.99. I ring it up and it comes up as $8.99. Not a surprise, as clearance items sometimes ring up at regular price. So I asked her to show me where she got it from. As it turns out, there was a perfume on clearance, but it was the wrong scent. Now I'll take this time to explain that our store will honor incorrect pricing if it's our fault. Like if we put an ad tag on the wrong spot, but not if it's a customer's fault. Like this case, where a customer put it back in the wrong place. I explain as much to her, and so she goes back to the place where she got the first bottle, and grabs another scent that wasn't even in the clearance tag slot. After we stated again that it's not the clearance item and that we can't mark it down, she starts throwing a fit and says that she's shopped with our store for years and deserves a discount for all of her business. My manager was quick to step in and tell her that she does in fact have a discount coming for all of her business. It's called in-store credit, and she's free to use any amount she's built up. She left her whole cart behind without buying anything and we haven't seen her since. Please help me get a YouTube play button by subscribing. I want to sell it for scrap and buy Jaeger bombs, thank you.